Hello!
Hello! We are Lovecraft Cocktails, and we're going to be doing yet another session of Quarantiki. This evening we're going to be looking at a cocktail called the Black Orchid, and there's an ingredient in the Black Orchid that I looked at and went, ooh, that seems like it's tasty. I wonder what else I can do with it. And so now what we'll try and do is play around a little bit and show you some of my creative process on how I go from, well, that was an interesting drink, and here's an ingredient. What can I do with that to create something that's maybe not totally new and original, but at least something that's new to here. All right, but first we go with the tried and true, which is the Black Orchid. So the Black Orchid is created by a Tiki masterclassman, Justin something Polish. I'm gonna massacre the name. You will know who that is. One of the things I like about the Black Orchid is that every one of the ingredients in the Black Orchid, and there are like 7, something like that, are all exactly the same amount. So there's no real memorization to this drink. It's just, oh, right, got it. It's 1 ounce of everything. So we're going to start with 1 ounce of lime juice. So here is my lime juice.
Okay, Juliana.
Excellent. Now I should point out that this cocktail does use a mix that is specific to this drink. And I've already gotten some mild grief over, now who the heck has these kinds of ingredients lying around? So I should point out that you can make this ingredient at home relatively easily. So the second ingredient is orange juice. No, that's not the ingredient. You get to make it from home. Although you can do that. We also have 1 ounce of orange juice.
Brooke says, yeah, that was me.
Yep, that was Brooke. All right, and here's the ingredient that she was talking about. So this is Black Orchid Mix. Like, what the heck is that? Why would you have it? And why would you put something black and inky into your drink? Okay, so what this is it's a simple syrup made with brown sugar and water in equal proportions. And then to the cup of water and the cup of brown sugar that you've put in and shook together in order to get the brown sugar to dissolve, you're going to add 2 tablespoons of blackstrap molasses. That's it. Now, you might not have blackstrap molasses lying around the house, but you can get it pretty easily. At least you can when there isn't COVID. So, 1 ounce of the Black Orchid mix. Smells like molasses, mixes much easier in a cocktail than just pouring molasses in would. Molasses, like honey, is kind of thick, and so it will not really gum up the works, but it's such a different viscosity that it just doesn't really mix well. All right, we need some passion fruit syrup. This would be the other ingredient that's like, well, who has that? Well, World Market sells Torani passion fruit syrup. Now, it's not the best passion fruit syrup, and
Amazon.
Or Amazon. You can certainly make your own by taking passion fruit juice, which you should be able to find at your local grocer or your local international market, and mixing that with some sugar and making a syrup out of it, so you can have passion fruit syrup. So 1 ounce of this. This will take a little bit because this pump is a little hard to get started, and once it gets started, it gets a little over anxious. So we don't want to spray passion fruit syrup everywhere. Okay, so 1 ounce of passion fruit syrup. There we go.
So Charity says it's healthy for you because it has molasses.
Sure, it's got juice. Juice is healthy.
Sienna's watching.
Excellent.
And Juliana says, how much molasses?
2 tablespoons per cup of sugar, cup of water. So 1 cup brown sugar, 1 cup water. Shake that all up to get it to dissolve. Add 2 tablespoons of blackstrap molasses, and then give it to your child and tell them to shake and shake and shake and shake and shake and shake. Because you don't want to do that. Your arm will fall off. All right, so then we have this rather ugly looking brown liquid that you probably can't see. It smells very strange because you've got molasses and passion fruit syrup in there. Now, you're going to need rum that has got some kick to it in order to get past these aromas and flavors and actually have some presence. So they're actually going to use two different types of overproof rum here. So the first that we're going to use is your Jamaican Smith & Cross. So Smith & Cross is an overproof rum. It is, it's slightly overproof, Navy strength at 57% alcohol. So that's 114 proof. We're going to go 1 ounce of the Smith & Cross.
That's getting low.
It is getting low. I forgot to add that to the list of alcohols that we need to restock. So there's the Smith & Cross. This is a really great rum to have on hand. Anything that calls for slightly overproof Jamaican or funky rums, this is my go-to when I'm not going really, really expensive. All right. So the other is you really want some backbone with this, and you want something that's going to go well with the molasses flavor. So we do want a 151. And you could go with the Lemon Heart 151, but the actual recommended recipe uses the Hamilton 151 that I have here. This is also getting a little low, but we'll have to go into the district to get that one. So we're going to do 1 ounce of this gorgeous looking 151. Do not, under any circumstances, use Bacardi 151 for this. Yeah, that is, that's just alcohol. It's not a whole lot of flavor there. All right, so there we have our Black Orchid. Now the way to prepare this is you're going to want to get some crushed ice. So we're going to take about 4 to 6 ounces of crushed ice. Drop that in. I'm actually going to go a little more than that.
Juliana likes the idea of having the kids do the shaking.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Pour that in. Lid that up all nice and tight. Shake. All right, nice and cold. Pop the lid on this.
And we have an Ann Carey.
Yay, hi Ann. Okay, there's that. Now we're going to put this in this nice little tiki mug here so that you can see what color the drink is. We'll just go right in. Look at that. Pretty nice. Maybe top that off with a little crushed ice. Go. It's not tiki without a garnish, so we're going to reach over here, and since it's called a Black Orchid, we're going to stick an orchid in there. Next question is, hey Pooch, where do I get orchids? I don't know. When you find out, let me know, because I just keep asking my friends in the restaurant industry if they have any spare orchids and send them my way. And that's how that works for me. So there's a little mint. You're wondering why I clapped my hands for the mint, probably. So here's the deal. Mint is great. Mint has a nice minty aroma to it. But if you crush the leaves just a little bit, it'll be even more fragrant, even more aromatic. And so that's why you see bartenders either smacking the mint against the palm of their hand or clapping with the mint in between their hands in order to bring out those essential oils. So there we have the Black Orchid in all its kind of dingy brown, ugly color. Let's see how it tastes. That's really pretty tasty.
Can you quickly go over the ingredients again?
I can. So again, the easy thing about this drink is all the ingredients are in exactly the same proportion. So it is 1 ounce of lime juice, 1 ounce of orange juice, 1 ounce of passion fruit syrup, 1 ounce of Black Orchid mix, which we can come back to what's in the Black Orchid mix, and then 2 ounces of rum. One of those ounces is going to be a navy or overproof Jamaican rum, in which case we used the Smith & Cross. And the second portion of that, so the second ounce, is going to be a 151, and you want a dark, really bold 151. And so we're going with the Hamilton. You could also use Lemon Heart and give it a slightly different flavor. And that, my friends, is the Black Orchid. Neat, cool. Let me point out a couple of things. It's brown. It's kind of dingy brown. It's not by any accident that most Tiki mugs are opaque. There is some truth to the rumor that Tiki mugs, in addition to just being fun and kind of frivolous and giving you that carefree kind of attitude, were also designed to help hide the fact that not all of these mixes were particularly colorful, bright, nice to look at. So, give you a look at what this is, and then I'm going to pass this on to my wife, who really likes these.
And we have a Belinda.
Yay, Belinda! All right. Sorry, Belinda, you missed out on our first cocktail. That's okay, there will be more. All right, so here I am making black orchids, and I'm enjoying them, and Star's enjoying them, and I look down and it only takes 1 ounce of the black orchid mix to make one of these. And, well, I have a fair amount of black orchid mix. Oh, I did say I would go back over what's in the black orchid mix. 1 cup brown sugar, 1 cup water, shake to dissolve, add 2 tablespoons of blackstrap molasses, lid it tightly, hand it to your kid, and have them shake and shake and shake until the blackstrap molasses is well incorporated, and you have this kind of inky black, yummy, molassesy, treacle flavored, good stuff to put in drinks. Good stuff to put in drinks. Except the Black Orchid's the only drink I know that calls for this. This is not like a staple of Tiki bar menus. So what else are you going to do with this?
You have an Amanda.
Huh. Well, here's how my brain works. My brain said, I'm going to have a lot of this left over. What else do I use molasses for, and why do I keep my jug of blackstrap molasses in the house? I use it as an ingredient in barbecue sauce. Okay, barbecue sauce. Well, barbecue sauce usually has barbecue just brings out the smokiness. I mean, that's what barbecue means to me, is smoke, smoke rings, smokiness. So if I'm going to use the molasses and pair it with something, I want something that's a little smoky. Well, I could go with a scotch that's got that peaty, iodine-y, almost ashtray-ish kind of smoke, but that's not really the kind of smoke that I'm thinking of with barbecue. I don't think that would go well with molasses. But what does go well with molasses is the Merlarky Whiskey Smokehouse. Now, this whiskey is about as smoky as you can possibly get. I think what they did is they chunked pieces of wood in with the barbecue that they were making, and then bacon, right? That's right. They were smoking bacon, and they put chunks of wood in with the bacon, so it would absorb all this smoky flavor. And then they dumped those planks of that wood in with the barrel aging process for the whiskey. This stuff is dynamite in the amount of smoke that it has in it. So I'm thinking, smoke, molasses, got to be something I can do with that. All right, but here's a staple of thinking with making original cocktails. Don't just throw stuff together. Start from someplace, start from an established cocktail or an established family of cocktails, and work your way out from there and play from that point. So I'm going to casually stroll through one of the many Tiki books that I have here and look at various recipes that require whiskey or bourbon of some sort and see if there's anything that seems like it might be okay in this regard, that might be close. So the first thing I ran across is a drink called the Port Light. So the Port Light uses lemon juice, it uses passion fruit syrup, it uses grenadine, and a light bourbon. Okay, my brain thinks grenadine, it's kind of tart, but it's also kind of a floral. The passion fruit is kind of floral, and I usually, when I'm thinking barbecue, I'm not thinking floral and pretty flowers and irises. So maybe not that. Maybe I want to go in a different direction with that. So let me think about going nutty. Maybe nuts. Nutty would work with molasses and smoke. So I went, well, I happen to have some orgeat lying around. Now this is a Tiki bar staple. This is essentially a simple syrup made with almond milk. You can either go the short route and just mix simple syrup with some almond milk, or use almond milk to make a simple syrup. But if you really want a rich, good, thick, amazingly tasting orgeat, make your own from blanched almonds. This is really good stuff. I try to keep some on hand all the time.
You have a Linda.
I have Linda too. Excellent. Yay. All right, so here's the creative process. We're going to take the recipe for the port light. So that is 1 ounce of lemon juice. Lemon juice. Start from the proportions of the port light and see what we get. So 1 ounce of lemon juice. Now when I was originally playing around with this, I was out of lemons, so I started using lime. Lime in bourbon or lime in whiskey just doesn't seem to work quite as well as lemon in whiskey. So as a consequence, I think going back to the lemon is really the right course. Now the sweet component of this is divided into two in the port light. It's divided into grenadine and passion fruit syrup. Okay, so I've got two sweet ingredients here. I've got the black orchid mix and I've got my orgeat. So now I have to figure out what proportion of which I should use. So in the port light, we've got 1/2 ounce of passion fruit syrup and 1/4 ounce of grenadine. All right, so we're only going to use 3/4 ounce of the syrup to begin with. My thought process was, wow, the molasses is really powerful, so let me drop that down and I'll use the 1/4 ounce for the molasses. Well, in my initial trial, that didn't work. The molasses wasn't coming through. So what I'm going to do is go a full 1/2 ounce of the black orchid mix.
You've got a Mimi.
Mimi, hi. Long time no see. So there's a 1/2 ounce of the black orchid mix. And then we're going to do a 1/4 ounce of the orgeat. Now the orgeat, the almond and the orgeat might get a little lost in here, but it will add a really nice mouthfeel to the cocktail because the orgeat is so thick. All right, so there is a 1/4 ounce of the orgeat. So there's our 3/4 ounce of sweet. Now the perceptive of you will go, wait a second. You got 1 ounce of sour, you got 3/4 ounce of sweet, and now you're going to add somewhere between 1.5 ounces and 2 ounces of spirit to this? Pooch, port light is nothing more than a sour. You're right, it is a sour. It's basically the same thing as a daiquiri or a margarita. It's a sour. It's spirit and a sour and a sweet, and the proportions of sour and sweet can change depending upon what spirit you're using and how spirit forward you want the drink. All right, so I said this was really, really smoky stuff, and it is. Now the port light calls for 1.5 ounces of bourbon. 1.5 ounces. If I put 1.5 ounces of this into this container, all you will taste is this whiskey. So I want to round out this flavor with something else. So I'm actually going to go 3/4 ounce of the Malarkey. And even then I might be a little on the high side. So there's 3/4 ounce. I still want something that's got a little heft to it. So we can try something like another one of the Demerara rums that are out there. You could also go with a cleaner taste and go with something in Nephew, White Overproof. This is really good rum, but I think the subtle points of the Wray & Nephew are going to get lost. I also, yesterday, I think it was yesterday, yeah, it was yesterday I was testing, tried the Wray & Nephew and it did get lost. So I'm going to go with something a little stronger than that.
Charity says she needs to try Port Light. She might like that a lot.
She might. We can do that. I got bourbon. So I could use the Hamilton 151, but as already stated, I'm running low on my Hamilton 151. So what I'm going to use is another Hamilton. This is the New York blend Hamilton. It is not an overproof. It's still only 42%. Unless my kind wife would like to hand me the bottle of the Plantation OFTD. Let's do that instead. And you're saying, Pooch, what is this creative process? How are you deciding which rum to use? I drink a lot of rum. And so I have some idea of what these rum characteristics and flavors are. But I do know that the Black Orchid mix and the Malarkey are going to be pretty potent. And as a consequence, I'm going to have a rum that can stand up to those flavors. So the OFTD is an overproof rum, and it is actually a blend of a number of different rums. And it was custom blended for Tiki enthusiasts by people like Richard Seal and Martin Tate and several others whose names I'm currently forgetting. And it is a truly fine rum. And even though I'm getting a little low on this one, there's a second bottle up there of the OFTD, which we purchased recently.
ABC?
Because it's, the Virginia ABC does in fact carry it. All right, so that's...
Jen says hi.
Hi, Jens. So there's
Jen.
Jen. Oh.
Amanda's Jen.
Amanda's Jen. So there's 3/4 ounce of the Malarkey, 3/4 ounce of the OFTD. Wow, that smells funky. Okay, so let's put some ice in here. We're going to do this the same way we did the Black Orchid. We're going to take crushed ice, lid this up, shake. So it gets really cold. Really, really cold. Really cold. And it turns out about the same color as the Black Orchid. It's a good sign. Let's put it in something that is a little more opaque this time. So we're going to go here with a little bamboo glass. We're going to just pour this directly in. Glass holds more than I thought it would. Cool. Once again, you don't want your guests to feel like they are gypped out and aren't getting a full drink. Add a little bit of crushed ice to that. It'll dissolve into the drink. It'll be good for the dilution anyway. All right, we need garnish. So since this has got lemon in it, we're going to stick that lemon right in there. This is a spinnaker. It's called a spinnaker garnish, when you just do the little peel thing, looking like a sail. There was something else I was going to put in there. Straw. Straw would be good. And just a little umbrella. We're going to go with a yellow theme here. And ta-da, we have one test drink. Unnamed. It doesn't get a name until you've decided it's good and tasty. So let's see what this tastes like. Tart. Definitely tangy. All the smoke pervades everything. There's a little hint of molasses to it. I might consider, so now you've got that. That's a good start on a cocktail. Now you're going to tweak that. So you've started from, oh my gosh, what do I do with this ingredient that I have so much of? Oh, here's a cocktail recipe that I could use as a base. Let me build off of that. That's tasty. Star, you want to try a taste of this and see what you think?
I'm getting a low battery, even though we're plugged in.
It's probably not charging for some reason off of the...
Now you gotta see the face.
You got to see the face, yeah, because she's not keen on this one. You can tell. Yeah.
It's I don't know.
It's I don't know.
I don't like it as much.
Right, right, okay. Well, but you also probably aren't a fan of the Port Light either,
Probably not.
right? So you're not a big bourbon whiskey fan, even though you really like the Malarkey as an old fashioned.
Right.
Because it tastes like candied bacon when you do that. So candied bacon with a little squeeze of lemon on it is kind of what this is, which why would you squeeze lemon onto candied bacon? Candied bacon should just be mouth-wateringly sweet. But I'm not going to do that for a cocktail because you want your cocktails to be kind of balanced. The orgeat really isn't coming through, which I knew it possibly wouldn't, but I wanted the extra mouthfeel. And there's a hint of molasses, but it's not really, really strong. So what I think I would do next would be, instead of splitting the base with half an ounce of the Black Orchid and a quarter ounce of the orgeat, I would probably go a full 3/4 ounce of the Black Orchid, or possibly even a full ounce of up the sweetness of it just a little bit. And I think that would probably be a better thing to do.
This is the tech crew breaking in. If we do run out of power, we'll restart shortly after we get kicked off.
Okay.
So we'll go with the phone.
We'll go with the other device that actually does have power. So that would be number 2. That's where I would go. The next thing is, so if you think that is a good base, now if you don't think it's a good base, then the thing to do is go back to the drawing board and go, is there another cocktail or family of cocktails that I think I could riff off of? Now this is essentially a whiskey sour. This is our simple, this is our syrup, and using lemon as a sour, which is fine. I think this has promise. I think I could work with that some, but you don't want to make a full cocktail every time you're making some minor change to a drink. So my trick for handling this is I break out my tasting glasses, and I will cut everything back by down to 1/4 of the ingredient. So if it called for an ounce, I'd only use 1/4 ounce, something like that. And what I'm going to do is just do different proportions into different tasting glasses, shake those up with a little bit of crushed ice, and give them a taste until I get the flavors right. Now, when I was playing around with this the other day, one of the things that seemed to be missing from this was just, it needed some other back note that I couldn't really identify. I didn't really know what it was. So I just started adding various things to various tastings. And I went, I think like an anise flavor to this on the back end would be really good. And there's essentially 2 ways that I go about adding that kind of flavor to one of my tiki cocktails. First is I will just go ahead and use absinthe because, well, what the heck, use absinthe. It's good for you. Makes you see wonderful things that sometimes are there, sometimes aren't. Not true. Absinthe is great. Absinthe is wonderful. It is actually a fairly common ingredient in tiki cocktails, although usually in very small proportions. You'll see a lot of tiki cocktails that will call for 4 or 5 drops, or 6 or 7 drops, maybe as much as like 1/4 ounce of absinthe in them. The other way to get sort of an absinthe flavor is to go with the Lemon Heart 151, which I think really does have a fairly noticeable licorice or anise flavor to it. So where I would go with this next would be kick this up to 3/4 of an ounce of the Black Orchid. Still go ahead with a full ounce of lemon juice and split the base between the Malarkey and the Lemon Heart 151. This will also up the alcohol quotient of the drink, which I think is a little missing here. It just doesn't have quite the punch, quite the backbone that I would like. The other thing you could do, which I'm tempted to, is I've got a brand new bottle of rum over there. Now I've had this rum before. I've had it in painkillers many, many times, but I finally broke down a bottle of the Pusser's rum. And so there's nothing wrong in the creative process with just taking a gander at what do I have, what haven't I tried recently, and putting them together. So you could just swap out the lemon heart in this case for the pussers, but if I still want that anise flavor to it, I'm going to have to add a couple of drops of either absinthe or some sort of syrup that has the absinthe flavor in it. So that would be where I would go next with this cocktail in terms of playing with it and trying to be creative. There's no simple answer to this. In order to get a really good cocktail, it's going to take multiple tries and multiple attempts. Do not feel afraid to take your that was a mistake pitch into the sink. If nobody wants to drink it, don't make anybody drink it. There's no reason to drink bad cocktails. That is a very good reason, though, for not starting out with your expensive rums or your expensive whiskeys or anything that's hard to get. Now, this is particularly problematic because the Malarkey Smokehouse is a limited edition, and so trying to get that, again, can be a little more difficult. Now, I have a second bottle of this upstairs, but it's also at about here. So I have about a little less than 2/3 of a bottle left, and I really like this stuff, and so does Star. It's about the only way she'll drink an old fashioned, so have to be a little careful on how much of that I use. So another way to go about this would be just pull the Malarkey out entirely and go with the lemon heart and pussers combination and see what that turns out. So if my wife will hand me my bottle of pussers that's back there, we will give this a try. One bottle pussers rum. Okay, so
Linda likes pussers rum.
what is the deal with pussers rum? So pussers, a number of years ago, did something which a lot of us find just a little dickish. They actually trademarked the name of a cocktail. So technically, you cannot have a painkiller cocktail if it doesn't have pussers rum in it. Now, yeah, not necessarily true. We have painkillers all the time that don't have pussers rum in them. But to truly be called a painkiller, you have to use pussers rum. Why is pussers rum such an important rum? So most of you, I think, know that the British Navy, along with most other navies, used to dole out a tot of rum to their sailors and Marines on board ship. Well, 1970, I think it is, they finally ended that. They ended the ration, and that was the Black Tot Day when they finally ended the rum ration. And they stopped producing that British blended rum. And so it was became very hard to get, became very rare. The corporation that owns Pussers went out and bought the recipe for that style rum and continues to make the Pussers rum in that style using that particular recipe. Rum is pretty much as close as you can get without breaking everybody's bankroll. The kind of rum that was doled out to the British soldiers right up until 1970, July 31st, Black Tot Day, when the British, in a fit of complete and utter stupidity, stopped giving their sailors rum. So that's what we're going to do now. So we're going to do this riff where I'm going to use lemon. I'm going to go ahead and use the Black Orchid. We're going to use these two rums. And then I'm probably going to add just a little bit of the Malarkey so that, what have we got here? No pressure on the big screen. Oh my goodness. Well, hopefully this is better than the last one because Brooke was so nice. She gave me multiple pages worth of critique of the last presentation. So hopefully this is better. I'll find out, I'm sure, a little later, especially since I'm on the big screen. All right, so what are we going to do?
We have a Linda Wyman.
Linda, we're fine. We're getting people. We have lots of people now. Excellent. All right, so what are we doing? We're going to go with, and you can freestyle on these things too. So once you start to go away from the base recipe. Because remember, the reason I was using lemon juice was because we were using a whiskey. So now that I'm using rums, I can partially return to lime, which I think goes better in general with the rum. So I'm going to go and split this evenly. I'm going to go a ½ ounce of lemon juice. I'm going to go a ½ ounce of lime juice. So we got lemon lime here.
Because our wonderful neighbor Tammy brought us limes.
Brought us limes. And the wife actually went out and got us lemons, so that's pretty awesome. All right. I'm going to stick to a 3/4 ounce on the Black Orchid here. I don't want to go too much. If I were sticking with the Malarkey, I would go a full ounce of the Black Orchid mix just to counteract the smokiness. But since I'm not using the Malarkey, I don't want it to take over. All right. So now we need 1.5 ounces of our rum in order to keep with the essentially the Port Light recipe. The ½ ounce, I'm going to go with the Lemon Heart. A, it's a more expensive rum, and B, well, it is overproof, so we don't want to hurt anybody. So there's a ½ ounce of the Lemon Heart. Make sure. Oh yeah, that comes through. And then we're going to go a full ounce of the Pusser's rum. Sweet. And there's 1 ounce. So there's 1.5 ounces. All right, so everything's in there. We're going to do the same thing we did before.
No Orchid?
No Orchid, because I kicked up the amount of the Black Orchid mix. So it was 3/4 ounce of sweet, and we were doing ½ ounce of the Black Orchid and 1/4 ounce of the Orchid. Because the Orchid was getting lost anyway, and I want to use up the Black Orchid mix, I'm going to go ahead and go full 3/4 ounce of the Black Orchid. I really want the molasses to come through, and let's see how this does. Now here's a case where, because I've switched from the whiskey to rum, I could also go a more floral route with this and bring some grenadine back into it or something along those lines, and I think that would go well with the rum. It would not go well with the whiskey though. That floral note, I think, would just confuse the whole issue. Although maybe a couple of zots of the passion fruit syrup, maybe. So here's another trick to the creative process. This is one of the bartender's favorite tools. This is a notepad. And jotting down what you're doing with each iteration of a cocktail, what you like about each one of those iterations, will get you closer and closer to building something that is really special, that you really do like. So after I lid this up and shake it and take a sip out of it, I will go over to my notepad, write down my general notes about what's in here and whether or not I liked that direction, and we'll see what happens from there. So I'm going to shake this up now. So you're not going to hear anything for a couple of moments other than or you can get one-handed. Don't do that if you are at all suspicious of the seal. I do not have any reason to be suspicious of the seal here. There we go. Well, that has some potential. All right, so as long as showing off things, so I have a new Tiki mug. So this is from barproducts. Barproducts has really good prices on generic barware and that sort of thing, and has an occasional cool mug and that sort of thing. So we tried some of their stuff and seems to be perfectly serviceable. Barproducts, various strainers and that sort of thing. So we're gonna give it a try. We'll see. I'll pour this out. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. As long as I've got a brown drink, I'm going to go with a brand new cocktail stirrer. So I don't know if you can see these. Here's the green version, and I'm going to hold up the brown version. So there's a little Tiki guy right here at the top, and down at the bottom, yeah, that's right, that's a roll of toilet paper, and it says Quarantiki 2020. Isn't that cool? Because, you know, if you can't cash in on somebody else's misfortune, what good is the world? All right, so there's that. We're going to add a little bit of mint to this. Pick this up, pull some poor mint out. I'll tell you the biggest thing that has put a damper in my tiki cocktails during this whole quarantine has been the fact that it's really hard to get mint in any quantity and keep it. So we're just going to shove some of that in here. We need a straw. Not that one.
Short straw.
Short straw. Short straw. Short glass straw. Reusable. I'll stick that in there. Yeah, there's some mint leaves just chucked in randomly. It is tiki, so you can just garnish the heck out of this. I have some dehydrated grapefruit wheels. You can stick that in there. Or whatever you want to do. Just go wild. Have fun with it. Play around with your cocktails. Keep notes on what you like and what you don't like. Always start from a base cocktail and have fun with it. And here we go. Let's see what we got. I need to write this one down. What do you think here, hon?
That's getting close.
Mm-hmm. Does it need a fruit note?
Yeah, I think
Like
so.
a little orange juice or something like that?
Yeah.
Maybe,
think so.
Maybe some grapefruit, cut some of the sweetness.
That might be good.
Grapefruit and molasses, good combination. I know it sounds weird, but it actually works really, really well. Could throw a couple of dashes of bitters in there and see what that turns out.
I was seeing if you had the grapefruit.
I do not
Bitters
have. I do
down
not have my grapefruit bitters down here. If you want to go a different direction and add some flowery notes to it, I have the lavender bitters, but I think those would be really weird in that. Then again, might not. Who knows? Give it a try. See what you like. I will go. It's really hard to go wrong with just a couple of dashes of everybody's favorite standard Angostura bitters. The secret to know about Angostura bitters: be careful, they will stain anything they touch. So the Dasher bottle top that I have on my Angostura, yeah, that thing's like blood red on the inside. Looks like, I don't know, it's that coppery color that dried blood gets. It's, yeah. That really changes the drink. Just a couple of dashes of the bitters. Makes me think that the grapefruit, with the tanginess and the bitterness of the grapefruit, might be really good in that. So there you go. I'm not sure what I'm going to call this. It probably needs an iteration or two, but that's pretty tasty. I may think about adding the malarkey back in, maybe just a quarter or a half ounce in here to bring up another smoky note to it. But otherwise, we're on the right track to something. Pusters and lemon heart. What's not to like? And I think that's pretty much going to close it out for another session of Quarantiki 2020 with Lovecraft Cocktails. As always, I'm standing by for if anybody has any questions, concerns. Oh my God, why did you do that? Dear Pooch, why aren't you setting out cocktails on the back step so that we can come along and get them? I don't know. I haven't done that yet. Cheers.